Railroad Preserver 2000 here, back again doing another video here at the Athens Community Council on Aging, which was formerly a 2 to 3 track stub end rail yard for the Central of Georgia / Southern Railway / NS. Until about 5 to 6 years ago, there was still railroad track from this yard. It's still in place, but now it's been ripped up save for a few sections. That's what I'm going to try and show today. In fact, there was a bit left right in here, but I think that's been ripped out due to all the heavy machinery coming in. But I know of one little spot where there's still track left, more or less in front of the depot. It's just a bit of stub rail. And there is still track further back here, buried in the woods. And I'll try to show that as best I can. But all this was railroad track here. In fact, around one of these trees was where one of the yard's track switches were located. I've been to this location a few times, both before and after the tracks were removed. Hello. But yeah, we'll get this bird here. Yeah, the old right-of-way was right here. It was a single track which then branched off into like 2 or 3 different tracks altogether. There was a freight office right in here at one point, but I think that burned and it was torn down or something. I don't remember. The only website that ever documented all this before I got involved was taken down years ago, and I've only been able to rediscover it recently thanks to archive sites like Wayback. But when they ripped the track up in here 10 years ago, all they did was rip the rails up. They just left the ties and everything else. That's what I'm here to document. Yeah, there now, you see? Right there. That was part of the joint bars. See, here was one of the track spacers. And here's the ties right here. With a spike. So yeah, here's the present remnants of the yard, and I'll get pictures for preservation purposes. So yeah, they literally just came in and ripped the actual rails themselves out. Here's another tie right here. And as I said, the only surviving trackage for these yard tracks is back here, where this kudzu is. For a while they had the old rails they ripped up, dumped right in here, and then they just hauled them off. However, I personally feel I've always felt they could have left some of the trackage in place, like from here back to where they have the other like roundabout area. They could have left that track in place. But, oh well, that's just me. In fact, here's the only surviving track right here, actually. So somebody's come in here and made a trail, which is nice. Makes it easier for me to walk through it now, because before this point there wasn't any way to see all this. But here's one of the ripped up rails. This one had always been removed. But you can see part of the old yard track there. There's still 2 that are in place. Here, one here, and one there. Also, here's the first time I've been able to see this creek here, which is nice. Oh yeah, look at this. Well, this is actually really pretty. It's like a little park. I like this. I like this a lot. It's nice. First time I've actually seen this properly. Sure, that was a nightmare for the railroad maintenance crews when they came in here, but who knows. Anyway, here's the only surviving trackage right here, at least on this end of the yard. There's more further back. So this would have been, I think, track 1. And right there is track 2, and this is all just stub end siding. It didn't continue much farther past this point, but interestingly, one seems to be higher up than the other. But yeah, you can see where the tracks more or less have just been either torn up or just generally have been removed or something. Oh, hang on. Yeah, you can see here they've been unbolted right here. Or actually, no, they haven't been unbolted. The rails, either it looks like, I can't tell. This looks like a switch right here. It has the same angle as one. So this was either dumped or discarded, one or both, but yeah, here's what I think is the end of track right here. This is just dirt mound. Yeah, this is the furthest back I've been able to get for this. So yeah, I'm going to try and document this because this all might be ripped out later on. Yeah, so here's the end of this track here. And here is the other one. So this one's more visible. I'm curious, did this continue further back, I wonder? Because I don't know. I don't think it ever did. Yeah, no. I think they just... well, never mind. It does. It continues further. So it looks like this is just a more or less a... this was more like a kind of stub end siding. Yeah. Here's what's left the full length. Oh, spider web. Gonna get that out of the way. Well, now that's neat. Look here. Let me get a little closer because that's really, really neat. That ain't gonna focus, but that's neat. It's like a little seed thing. Oh well. Yeah, here's the rest of the old yard track. As you can see, in the 30-odd years since this was last used, well, it's gotten a little derelict. I find it interesting that the railroad rails have made like a little creek. That's actually really neat. I like that. Let's see, I'm going to try and use the rail as a way to walk without damaging anything. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I think they more or less dead end right up there, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, going off of what I read a while back, I'm not sure. But I find this neat though, that there's like a little creek slash swamp in between the tracks. That's actually really neat. It's pretty too. It's really picturesque. I'm just trying to make sure I don't damage anything. At least I hope I'm not damaging anything. Yeah, so it's like a marsh now, which is interesting. But I think that's right literally where the track is dead end right there, where that dirt mound is. So that concludes this part. So the next part's going to be at the other end. Alright, so continuing on where I would be probably heading out of the yard, now you're going to see where the tracks are still semi-intact in front of the depot. Because see, here's the thing, when this yard closed, they built onto the depot property, and a lot of the track was just simply covered over with dirt and buried. I can now say I'm an avid bird watcher if I'm trying to photograph them while doing a video relating to trains. Oh well, I could have worser hobbies. I've always said that. I could have had, of all the hobbies I could have, I could have done a lot worse, or chosen a lot worse. Now, that rail is somewhere in here, but this whole field had a track in it about 10 to 15 years ago. And there's actually photos of what this used to look like online. A gentleman by the name of Nicholas Cavouri documented a lot of this when he was going to school here. Let me see, I know the rail is here. It's in this general area, it's just hard to spot. But it's stuck out more or less in front of the depot still. I just don't remember where it is, but I know it's still intact. I know that much. Aha! There it is, right there. And I can see me clearing it off has helped. See? The only bit of railroad track still in front of the depot, right there. And that was the old Southern Railway passenger station. That's the only bit of railroad track still in place, right in front of it. But again, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was most of the trackage that was left was still in place. I'd think about 2 to 3 tracks were still intact when I first saw them. But when they built this, they decided anything that was anything remotely relating to the railroad was having to be removed, which was kind of stupid because a lot of the track that was still in place didn't even get in the way of this thing. And they could have just cut out the sections that were in the way. But that's Athens, Clark County for you. They don't really care much about preserving history. Not anymore, at least. Which is annoying as hell, but I digress. So any surviving trackage is going to be underneath this parking lot where the fill dirt is higher up than the rails. And you can see here's the creek, this railroad. You can see here's the creek that the rail yard had to contend with. I'm sure that was a nightmare trying to deal with that. And then up here is a warehouse that was also served by the railroad. There's a bridge where the spur would have gone underneath and into this plan up here. The track's already been gone from there for a while though, so it's no real issue. But any surviving yard track would be underneath this property here. The only other surviving bits are under the bridge, and I'm going to try to photograph this, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to walk all around there, because last time I tried this there was homeless people on the property and that was not good. I didn't want to risk my camera and stuff being taken. You can see the CSX local up here is parked for the day. They're just waiting orders to move out, I guess. Huh. Okay, let's see. Oh, there's trails back here, so that's either a good sign or a bad sign or both. But yeah, here's the surviving yard trackage in the back of the property. It's been ripped up pretty much about here, but you can see bits of it poking through the trees here. And there were 4 tracks. Most of them are gone now, save for what they just left. So here's another one right here. But yeah, I can't get close now. You can see more of it right there. The track that curves off to the right was part of a Y, and the bridge for that is still somewhat in place, but the rest is, well, laying alongside the right-of-way. And then the other track, all these other tracks would have merged into one single track and would have connected back up with the main line in that direction. The switch for that is still in place, buried by the kudzu. And a while ago I would have been able to access this and not have to worry about any trouble, but now it is an absolute no-go. So yeah, I do not want to risk that. So I will see you all later.